Good job, 14. I voted for you. What are you talking about?
I'm just messing with you, Mr. Dasher. It's 3:36 p.m. is Monday, January 9th, 2023. Make a note on the agenda, it's 2023. I am now calling the joint Budget and Finance Committee meeting and Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Councilors, committee members, have you had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes.
Is there a motion for approval?
I move for approval of the minutes of December 12th, 2022.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The minutes from the last meeting have been passed. Next is consideration of the consent agenda. Councilors, do you have any items you would like to place on consent? Sorry, no. Councilor Abbott.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
My proposal for the consent agenda is items 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, and 18.
Okay, Madam President, are there any items you'd like to place on
I don't
consent?
have any to add.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through it one more time. So that's item 7 on page 2. Items 11 and 12 on page 4. Items 13 and 14 on page 5. And items 16, 17, 18 on page 6. Okay, can I have a motion for approval?
I move approval of
Second.
the consent agenda.
All in favor say aye. Aye. The consent agenda has passed. So if your item was placed on consent, enjoy this beautiful winter afternoon for the rest of us. All right, the first item that's coming up is item number 4, an agreement for the professional services with D. Smith Technology and Consulting LLC, under which DSTC LLC will facilitate the creation of a data warehouse solution for the archive of 311 case data for the city of Birmingham over a term not to exceed 3 years for an amount not to exceed $92,669.50 in year 1.
Move the item.
Second.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Patrick McClendon, Director of Information Management Services. This item is for consulting services, a developer that we've worked with before, to archive some data, older cases from 311, so that they don't kind of cloud that whole map view that you see there, and also to enforce our data retention rules. And not just for 311, but for a lot of the other systems that we use. We archive those off the system to keep some data from bogging everything down. We have an existing data warehouse that she'll be helping to build out and add some other items to. Some of them would include some of the last of the mainframe data and the last mainframe app that we use on the mainframe. To get those off, we could get that software off.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions, Madam President?
Yes, thank you very much. Hi. Thank you for bringing this item before us. I do have a couple of questions, and I was a document control person in my previous life, so forgive me. But I just wanted to ask, the record retention, period of record retention, where is that published? Is that something that's within your own database or your procedures within the IT
No,
department?
those are citywide rules, and
Citywide.
most of them just follow state rules.
Okay, perfect.
I think is where they come from.
And the other thing, is there a record of retention for these documents themselves, or how often are they turned over after a period of time, or the 311 database? I know sometimes residents have complained about different issues regarding 311 requests, so I just didn't know if this is utilized readily to go back and look and research an issue, or is this something that's just archived?
No, this is the type of thing that we could go query quickly, but it's not in the actual database that people are using day to day, and that way there's just less data to manage, and then we can also summarize it.
And how long does this backup go to? I mean, what, do you have a period of time, or is this just from now? backwards or have some
It
records
depends on the
already
type of
stored?
record we're storing in the data warehouse. I believe for 311, it's 7 years is the rule, but don't quote me on that.
I apologize, I didn't look that up. Thank you. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Abbott.
Well, Madam President, you've got me beat because I don't know where to go to look and see what our retention is for each type of document. I didn't know we had a location, so I'll have to talk to you after this is over. But I wanted to ask about this data warehouse. Is this like in the cloud?
Yes, we are building it. Right now it's on premises. One of the things we're going to do is move it to cloud-based servers, but it's not a software as a service. It's something that we're building in-house, but will be hosted on cloud-based servers using one of the probably Microsoft Azure, Google, possibly Google Cloud or Amazon Web.
So you're going to have 10 million terabytes of space in the cloud for all this 311?
Not quite that much, Councilor.
And everything that's left on the mainframe? I thought the mainframe was gone.
We are so close. We have one application and one data set that's not in use that we have to archive, and then we're home free, and I will bring you the baseball bat myself.
Yeah, I think we ought to have some kind of party because we've been talking about this for 20 years and it's finally happening, so.
That close.
Okay, and you did say that other things would be stored as well as 311. So can you tell us that information again? What else will we be storing in this data warehouse?
Right, we have a lot of HR data that, for instance, we didn't convert when we converted to a new HR system, so we only go so far back with records on some things. So we put that in a data warehouse just in case we need to access it at some time. And it's not like a record retention where you have to go to a warehouse and pull a paper file and all this. It's the sort of thing that's readily queryable. It's just not something that everybody would have access to that has the other system. It's something that we could go back and look and find things if we needed them fairly quickly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councilors Tate and Clark, do you have any? Okay. All right, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 4 passes. Next item. Let me see. Should we bring up items 5, 6?
They're different.
Right,
Yeah.
they're different? Okay, I didn't know if they were the same. Okay. Okay, item number 5, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents required for the city to complete a grant with the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, as authorized under the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, for grant funding from the EPA's Solid Waste Infrastructure for Recycling, SWIFR, grant program to establish, increase, expand, or optimize collection and improve materials management infrastructure, reduce contamination in the recycled material stream, and identify, establish, or improve end markets for the use of recycled materials. By implementing the series of strategies on building a circular economy for all, supporting improvements to local post-consumer materials management, including municipal recycling programs and assisting local waste management authorities, and making improvements to local waste management systems with a total grant award not to exceed $4 million with no matching funds required by the city for a term of 3 years, and authorize the mayor to take any and all actions and execute such other documents as are appropriate and necessary in accordance with the terms of the grant.
Move
I
down.
move approval.
Madam Pro Tem,
Second.
you can actually go ahead and bring all the other ones up. They're similar, it's just different organizations, so I didn't want it to get confused. It's okay.
Okay. Well, items 6 and 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Trying to see if it just says the same thing.
It's just a different agency.
Different agency. Okay. Well, this one is with the EPA's Consumer Recycling Education Outreach, REO grant program, and this is a total grant award not to exceed $2 million with no matching funds required by the city for a term of 3 years. And then item number 8 is with ADEM, the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, for a grant funding from the ADEM's Recycling Fund grant program This is to achieve or surpass both the recycling or waste reduction efforts set forth in the city's solid waste management plan and the purpose and goals of the Solid Waste and Recyclable Materials Management Act of 2008 through the purchase of a recycling truck for the city of Birmingham with a total grant award not to exceed $350,000 with no matching funds required by the city. I think that's the last one. Is there a motion for items 5, 6, and 8?
I move approval.
Second.
Okay. Chief, Mayor?
We'll just bring up Ms. Adrian Stitt that can speak on the item alone, Mr. Gates. Sorry.
Actually, as Madam Chairwoman and Council, this is a team approach related to finance, PEP, public works, and equipment management. So of all those team members who are here representing 5, 6, and 8, if you can come up together. This gives us an opportunity, Madam Chairwoman and committee members, as well as other city councilors, an opportunity to revolutionize how we engage in recycling if we actually are awarded these grants or a portion of these grants. So they're going to present 5, 6, and 8 together.
Good afternoon. I'm Adrian Stitt, and I serve as the Grants Division Director. And as the mayor said, this is an opportunity for us to expand upon our recycling program. The first one, we can provide infrastructure such as bins, new trucks, etc. That's the Swiffer grant. The second grant, the Rio grant, that's where we can expand upon our education and outreach for recycling. And then the ADM grant, that's just through the state where we can also expand upon our infrastructure where we can possibly buy bins and trucks.
So let me ask you this question as far as the bins. Is this something where, how are they going to be given to residents? Do they call in and they ask for the bins, or is it going to just be placed throughout the city? How will that work?
Well, we have not really worked that out in detail yet because this is the first stage. Once we get the grant, we have the opportunity to create the program and expand upon it. But Mr. Yates can give you more information.
How's everybody doing? Josh Yates, I serve as the Director of Department of Public Works. In regard to your question about the recycling components, we engaged a little earlier on in a company called Routeware. That company is going to be able to give us more data on our recycling throughout the city and also help us with some education opportunities with that data and with that technology. That's kind of the route we're headed. But we also have this opportunity to apply for grants that if they could bring in more infrastructure, it could help us expand our recycling network as well as our educational components. So we don't have everything ironed out exactly where everything would go, but when you start adding the money up together as far as staff needed, trucks needed, carts needed, it creeps on up into the millions of dollars. So this is $6 million worth of infrastructure that could be added to, potentially to our fleet and our infrastructure such as the carts. To answer your question, we don't have it all ironed out, but it's a potential. We have a plan in place with the system we have in place. This would just help boost us any money we get off of this grant to get us closer and closer to expanding recycling across the city.
Okay, I just asked just because I'm sure everybody else gets questions about how they can get a recycling bin from us. So, okay, Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions?
Oh, I do. This item 8, it says you're going to buy a recycling truck. Are you really only going to have one for the whole city, or is this just the amount that would be allowed to be used by this particular grant?
Well, with this one, the max is $350,000. So if we were to use it for a recycling trucks are running around $280,000. So that's why that was there. But if we decided it was for bins, you may be able to get bins. So we haven't decided exactly what the use of the funds would be. It could be either or, a truck or bins.
Okay. Beg your pardon?
Mr. Mayor.
A preference? Not at this time. I did want to ask about the trucks. Let's say we're going to have more than one truck. These will just be collection trucks for the big rolling bins, not collection trucks where someone sorts it like we did in the past? Of course, y'all aren't old enough to remember the past, but, you know, we used to have a recycling truck that it was divided up at the time of pickup, and I'm just assuming that we're going to have like the garbage receptacles that just get pumped into the truck. Is that correct?
My name is Cedric Roberts. I proudly serve as the Director of Equipment Management. And the trucks you were referring to were basically the sidewalks, basically street side sorter, where they sorted it at the curb. No, ma'am, these will be ASL, automated side loaders, similar to the new garbage trucks. The bins that are in question were like 64-gallon cans, similar to the light blue cans that we did in the pilot program.
Okay, and gosh, so many questions in so little time. The other, are these three in any way tied together? Like if we got one grant, would that mean we have a better chance of getting another grant, or we're just going to go for all of them and see what we come up with?
They're not tied together. We're going to go for all three and any additional that come out.
Well, I'm very excited about this, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for listening on the recycling business, because I know at least some of us are pretty inspired over it. And what will happen to the recycled bins, the rectangular things that we've handed out? Will we take those back and reuse them, or will we recycle them, or will we just leave them with the homeowners and let them do as they wish?
We'll recycle them.
Oh, well, if you're using yours for firewood, I guess you can keep it. Anyway, mine's been run over by a car a couple of times, so, you know, it doesn't look too good. But I think it has a recycling emblem
Yes, you can recycle
on it. So, okay. Well, that's all my questions for now. Once we get the grant, I'll ask some more questions.
Okay. Madam President.
Thank you very much. I'm equally excited about just any changes that we'll be bringing to our recycle program. I have just 2 streets and neighbors that are just very diligent and would want more and more and more. And I do want to ask a question. Just give me a little bit of the timeline and what our expectations might be as you go for these grants.
The EPA grants are due in February, where they expect to make their announcements later in the fall. And the ADEM grant is due in May, and their timeline is a little quicker. And I'm sorry, March, where we would be notified in July if we were to receive the grants.
Thank you, and I do want to thank your staff. I know we've had some really great success with grants and submissions the past year, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the team for that. We were very excited. We've been at a couple of meetings, and there's just been accolades to how the grants have been submitted, so thank you very much.
All good? Well, that is a high five. You know, I'll have to say this is mine and Randall's baby, because we've been working on this since I've been in office. And so I do want to thank him for keeping his word. He said he was going to work on education, and Sade said she will work on getting more grants for bins and everything. So I think this will be a good thing, helping our kids, getting bins, helping to clean up our city. Because I think Councilor Abbott inspired me when she said she barely can fill up her trash can. So I'm like, what am I doing wrong if I need to fill up a whole trash can? So, okay.
Not me about those boxes. So.
Look, every time.
Recycle it.
I know. Every time somebody asks for another trash can, I'm like, well, Councilor Abbott said you only need one. So, anyways, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. So items 5, 6, and 8 have passed. Thank you, guys. Next item is item number 9. A memorandum of agreement between the Birmingham Police Department and Alabama A&M University to allow students attending Alabama A&M University to work as interns with the Birmingham Police Police Department's Community Outreach and Public Education Division to participate in the Graduate Field Instruction Program, which will provide the students an opportunity to gain experience and educational knowledge while providing assistance to the city.
Move the item.
Second.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm LaQuayla Parmack. I serve as the Assistant Chief. And so the Birmingham Police Department has a very robust internship program, and this is just allowing a partnership with the Alabama A&M University. We have partnerships with various universities and currently have we have a group of interns in the department now, and this is just expanding our reach.
Okay. Madam President, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
Okay, Council Abbott.
And these are unpaid interns, and that's why there's no amount, no dollar amount?
Yes, ma'am.
So they're just working for the good of the world.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Item number 9 passes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is item number 10, a resolution pursuant to section 11-40-1 and section 11-47-1 and section 11-47-9 Code of Alabama 1975, authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver an agreement with Courtney French Broadcasting, LLC, under which Courtney French Broadcasting will provide radio advertisement, remote broadcasting, and communication services to inform and engage residents on issues relative to neighborhood revitalization efforts, jobs and business opportunities, crime awareness and prevention, and other issues of concerns for residents via a variety of public information medias. The term of the agreement is 1 year, and the city shall pay Courtney French Broadcasting an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Move the item.
Second.
Chief?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is our second year using WVTM for this service to allow us in the mayor's office to promote different initiatives that we have going throughout the city. We have a standing Saturday morning talk show that the mayor hosts along with a personality from that particular station where we just discuss topics of the day and what's going on within the city. I think Madam President has been involved in a couple of them, so we just want to keep the momentum going of this relationship that we have with V94.9 and just making sure that we get all our information out to the constituents in the city of Birmingham.
Council Abbott, do you have any questions?
I do. I wanted to know how we choose which radio station we'll use for these kind of services. Do we look at the number of listeners they have and the times of day, or is there a selection process?
So, So with this one, we look at the target median of who listens to that particular program. This one has a capacity of almost 94% of African American listeners, which is the largest portion of our constituents when it comes to Birmingham. So I think this is just one of those avenues that we use, and it's not just this company. We use we use Summit Media and other broadcast methods that we use to get the word out on different things. Even with the Magic City Classic, we use probably a number of different organizations to get the word out on just how the Magic City Classic works. This one just is more in tune to what the mayor wants to get out to the public to make sure they understand what we're doing.
Good. So we'll have lots of education on recycling.
That could actually be a topic that they can discuss. Absolutely.
Come on, you coming on?
Sure.
I'm about to say, Mr. Mayor, when are you going to invite the
about
rest
5
of the
o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no, I'm just playing. I'm okay.
It's usually 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's a good time slot for people on Saturday to just tune in and listen.
You said 9 o'clock, not 5?
9 a.m. 9 a.m. on a Saturday is a very large target. You know, when you clean your house up at 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning.
You're playing old school music there.
It's that 5 o'clock that gets me. That's the mayor's time. Thank you.
Okay, Madam President.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I am familiar with the previous programs or the ways that this firm has been used to broadcast and educate the public. Just had a question. As you select topics, are those topics, how are they selected? I know your Saturday format, and we have other things that if things come up, you advertise, but how are those topics selected?
So it's actually usually in partnership with the actual broadcast station. There are some what we would call rapid fire topics and then there are some topics we go deep into. The orders of the day are always important, what's going on in our city, infrastructure, crime, education, and then the litany of other things, city services, how they're provided. And then when a particular guest comes on, it goes a layer deeper, or layers deeper on them, whether they're in a professional setting or they're actually on the opposite end receiving the benefit, et cetera. So it's different every Saturday. It's not the exact same, but we do top lines, then we drill down, we do rapid fire, and then we go deeper depending on what the topic is.
Thank you. That's my only question. Thank you.
Okay. Councilors Tate and Clark, y'all good? I will have to say I have tuned into them really on Facebook, and I have seen a lot of viewers. It's been very helpful to hear from different perspectives. He's had all type of people, DeWanda Thompson, Ed Fields. He's had a lot of people on there, honestly. It's been very helpful to hear expansion of topics, you know, so I think it's been good, honestly. So, all right, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Next item is item number 15, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver an agreement with Jefferson County Family Resource Center, Restore, under which Restore will offer support services to court-involved youth ages 16 to 19 and their families through the Jefferson County Family Resource Center. The program is designed to reduce criminal activity involving young people residing in the city, to provide proactive, strength-based, trauma-informed mental health services, and developmentally appropriate case management services geared to help build on a participant's potential for success. The term of the agreement is for 1 year, and the funding amount is $225,000 from professional fees, youth services.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Mayor or Mr. Johnson?
Madam Chairwoman and Council, thank you for allowing us to present this item before you. This is a very important topic, I think, in our consideration of how we are addressing issues related in our community to youth, wraparound services, the criminal justice system, et cetera. We're happy to partner with Family Court, Jefferson County, and a host of other folk. So what I want to do is step aside and allow those that are present, including the head judge of Jefferson County Family Court, Judge Hilliard is here, and others, including Brandon Johnson from our team. So if they can come forward and give a little more detail about the Restore program. But I think you all will find this has a considerable positive opportunity to be impactful for those young boys and young girls who are in state custody, and equally important as they transition out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. My name is Brandon Johnson. I serve as Director of Policy in the Office of Social Justice and Racial Equity. This project was brought forth by the many visits that Mayor Woodfin has made to the juvenile detention facility since he's been in office. He saw a need and he charged us with figuring out how to meet that need. I want to note, and you'll get more details, the level of collaboration, which I think is so key to affect these issues that we have before us. We have with us Chief Judge Janine Hilliard from Family Court and her team, and we also have Monique Greer, Executive Director of Jefferson County Youth Detention Facility. I really want to thank this team for this in-depth work. What I want to note most is that this is targeted to our highest risk youth, those that often get overlooked. I hope that this begins to set a new standard for how we collaborate against units of government in our city. I will now bring up Carrie Boutan, who is the Executive Director of the Jefferson County Family Resource Center and who will be the lead agency on this project. I apologize. Judge Hilliard will be the first one to speak.
All right, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. As the presiding judge of Jefferson County Family Court, I see a good number of young people who are involved in murder charges and attempted murder charges. Just in the past week, I've had 2 children come through my court with capital murder charges. It's a significant problem. We all know that. And so we have to come up with more creative ways to deal with the situation. What do we know about this situation? We've given out the slides so you all have them. What we know currently is that 69% of the victims aged 13 to 22 who were murdered last year came through family court. We also know that 83% of the perpetrators who are youth under the age of 22 with a murder or attempted murder charge also came through family court. That's significant. Our next slide, 32% of all the homicides reported in Jefferson County last year were youth. The perpetrators were youth. The next slide will show you, what I want you to pull from this slide is this. At family court, we deal with a lot of different types of cases. Okay, among them, the dependency cases where children don't have a parent who's ready, willing, able to take care of them. Delinquency cases where children are accused of committing crimes, truancy cases, etc. But the important thing is that while they're there, we have an opportunity to do better, to help them to do better. And that's what we try to do at family court now. We're able to provide services to our children to rehabilitate them, but the issue goes a little bit further. Before I get there, let me first talk about the next slide. Of the 60 youth under age of 22 who were charged with murder or attempted murder last year, 35% of them came through family court with a prior dependency. 53% of them came through with a delinquency. Next slide, please. Of those who were murdered, we also have 30% who had dependencies and 37% who had delinquencies. The point that I'm trying to make, or I want you to see, is that at family court we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to deal with these children and with their families. We have resources currently, but we need more. And let me tell you why. We have the resources to help all of the children that are coming through. But what happens is we rehabilitate the children. They go back to the community, and the parents are the same. They haven't changed their jobs. They don't have a job opportunity. They're not doing anything different. And they come back to us once again. So the Restore program is an opportunity for us to not only deal with the child, but to deal with the entire family, to provide services to those families while the children are off at placements, so that when they come back, they're coming back to a different environment. And I'm going to let Carrie talk to you about, Monique talk to you a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, counselors. Good afternoon. To add to what Judge Hilliard has had to say, one of the biggest challenges, or many of the biggest challenges that we face, is interoperability. Oftentimes, our governmental systems are operating in silos, and we have for a long time. It's going to be invaluable that we work together, and through this collaborative, we'll be able to do so. Many times the youth are being touched by multiple agencies who are not speaking to one another, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. And so we have an opportunity to face these issues that are constantly occurring. Some of the answers that we have for that will be through prevention, intervention, support, engagement, and a continuum of care. And so we want to remove ourselves from those silos and partner together, bring the resources together up under one unified umbrella, which would be the Restore program. In order for us to be able to do that, we'll have case management teams that will support the family as a whole, as Judge spoke to us a short moment ago. And also, the participants will receive a full assessment. We'll be able to find out what their strengths are, but also what those barriers and needs are, and be able to properly manage those as well. And so I'm going to allow Carrie to tell you more about the program itself.
Morning, counselors. First and foremost, I just have to thank Brandon for this opportunity, and Ms. Monique Greer and Judge Hunt Hilliard. This has been a really incredible opportunity for us to address the lived reality of the youth that we see. Those statistics are pretty shocking, and I hope that they convey to you what they convey to us, is that we know where these kids are, we know where they live, we know where their families live, and now is just an opportunity to do something with it. One thing that Monique mentioned was continuity. We have the ability, Judge has the ability to send children to placements, either DYS placements or just any out-of-home placements, or into the detention center. But what we see is the children, these kids, these youth, they go away where they have parameters, they have boundaries, they take their medicine, they have school, and they have very strict parameters put in place. And when they come back, they're coming back to the same chaos that they left. Some of the interesting things that we've seen is, especially with our murder rates in our youth, is the gang violence and the crimes. One thing that we are extremely sensitive to is housing and relocation. While these youth are down the road, they're doing their time, working with those families to increase the family stability and make sure that if they need to be relocated, we've got excellent working relationships with all the different housing authorities and with property managers and owners around town. And so we're already trying to eliminate those barriers, but we don't have that type of continuity right now. The Jefferson County Family Resource Center is a member of the Alabama Network of Family Resource Centers, which means there are 28 of us across the state. In 2011, the state of Alabama passed 25 standards that all of these resource centers have to abide by, but that also means that we get continuity among services as well. We know that we're operating with a transient population for the most part. They start a program with us, they move to Tuscaloosa, they move to Sylacauga. They don't have to start those programs over, they just get right into where they're going. So I think that, and the fact that we are located, thanks to Judge Hunt Hilliard, right inside family court. So we are eliminating barriers. We are making sure that when these youth come back, we can meet with mom, they can meet with their PO, they can drug test, they can meet with mental health, they meet with their case managers. And that's 6 different areas that we have covered with one ride to and from the house. So what we're looking at for budget and finance, we run a program for the parents right now. We run an adolescent workforce development program for kids that can be referred through the community. But what we are trying to do is get these kids who are almost just barely slipping through the cracks. And how we want to do it is to involve the entire city in it. We want to come before you quarterly. We want to discuss the impact that we make. We want to have a 2-pronged approach where the first prong is we have systems leaders sitting down and using the information from the case management teams, using the information from the selection committee to inform how we can have housing authority applications, food stamp applications, DAs, and how we can have everything very much more systematically grounded into one straight line as opposed to just being all over the place and having to navigate this. Going back to Judge Hunt Hilliard's slide, you can see from that, and I'm somebody who has been in family court for 20 years, that is just a picture of how complex the systems are. And the fact that we've had all of these kids have different systems touching, they've had DHR involvement, they've had school involvement with truancy, and they've had police or criminal justice involvement when they're picking up charges. And we know where they are. We know they're coming through family court. So what we want to do is start at the beginning at their arrest, work with the family through adjudication, through sentencing, through placement, and then have an idea of reentry. One of the biggest problems we're seeing is educational underachievement and educational deficits. Beside the COVID issue, if you go down the road for 60, 90 days to Lee County and you come back to Jefferson County, if that's a block system and that's a semester system, there's no reciprocity until this year. So you've just lost all those credits that you had for 2 or 3 months. Now you're going to be 18 and you're going to go back into the 10th grade. Well, that's not going to work. And the schools, that's a lot for the schools to handle too. So what we want to do is, we know that we have the support of the courts who have already ordered them to comply with mental health, comply with substance abuse treatment, comply with all of these things, but this is the opportunity to give these youth and their families their own agency, to really make sure that they have the opportunity to decide what career do you want, what educational path do you want, what are your barriers to get there, now how do we do it? And we're sensitive to the fact that kids from different parts of town can't be in the same case management teams, and that's where we really depend on our community to our community partners to really help us step forward and help us out on that. The cost per child is $1,875, but with the city of Birmingham, I think you'll find that that investment in our future is going to be amazing. I think you'll find that it's a lot more, it's a lot cheaper than putting these children, putting these kids into detention facilities and watch them come back and graduate to the adult system. But the city of Birmingham as a partner allows us to really have the large catalyst we need to make these changes. And again, what we offer to y'all is the ability to show that these type of programs based on intensive case management can work. And once we're able to show that and come back to y'all with the data, it's our intention that we can make this as large as possible and touch as many kids as possible, reducing recidivism, reducing crime, reducing educational deficits. There's just so much that we can do if we bring the family on as a unit and partner with them as a team.
Madam Chairwoman and committee members and other counselors, just to put a bow on it before we, excuse me, before we turn it back over to you for any questions you may have. I don't want us to overlook the stats and numbers they gave, but I guess a plainer way to put it, the probability of these boys and girls entering state custody on 2nd Avenue of either being victims, murdered, killed in our city, or being the perpetrator, murderer, is extremely high. This is the front line where we should put our time, our commitment, our resources, and having a sense of urgency on how to address not only our youth, but some of the issues that are bigger, such as the family unit and wraparound services. So with that, I do want to thank Carrie. I want to thank Monique. I want to thank Brandon. I want to thank Your Honor for the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Madam President, do you have any questions?
Yes, I want to thank you for this type of program, the wraparound services. I was very excited to hear you speak to how you're going to sort of interact this with the school system itself, because what you highlighted, I think we saw when serving on the school board, that often it put the child into this, I don't know if you call it a spiral or whatever, for trying to do their time, but then they've missed so much, like you said, the credits and all those type things. And I do know that as a council, I think we've approved about, $7.1 million so far in services like this for our youth and throughout our community. So I don't think there's too much that we could spend on something like this. When you talk about, though, the 1875, and you list transportation, technology, work gear, I'm sure there are more components, though, when you start talking about the continuum of care and other things. Is this just how you quantified this piece of it to put a dollar figure on it?
Yes, ma'am. So what you'll see on the one pager that's kind of inserted in your blue folder, the participants must meet a criteria of 6 out of 10. And then we have all of those, but maybe it's not in there. Maybe it's in my notes. Let's start there. Okay. But what we're essentially looking at is there are a different amount of components. You'll find that in the right-hand side as well, where it talks about okay, well, I don't have that on me. However, the components all involve either mental health counseling, community involvement for mentoring. All of the participants will be required to do community service. One of the neatest programs, I think, that is a component is called the EFK program, which is called Extended Family for Kids. And that is geared towards looking at and working with children who have loved ones that are already incarcerated, and how to leverage the effect that incarceration can either have on that child, either the stigma accompanying that when your kids in school find out about it, but it also allows the person who's incarcerated to act as almost like a credible messenger. One thing that we are very much about is going to the neighborhood association meetings around family court in the West End area. As far as family court is considered, we have 3 major spots, and we're talking Centerpoint, we're talking the West End, we're talking Bessemer. We work in Bessemer, we do a lot of work in the West End, and Centerpoint is just an incredible, just void of need. But anything that we, as a team, for the case management teams, anything that we see that could really, a lot of this is also based off of what the families identify as needs. And so we put that into a goal sheet and we put the steps to achieve it. And once they've completed their components, then we know we're able to track how many components they've completed and how much time. I don't anticipate that this will be something that a year long is going to fix everything. Absolutely not. But I think give us a couple of 2 or 3 really solid success stories, and that's what we're looking at. But it's all needs driven, and it's based on the different lived realities of all of these youth.
Just another question. You also said this program is going to work with other programs that are already out there.
Yes, ma'am.
This one obviously is after the child has entered into the system, correct? And I know we've had some other programs where we're trying to reach our students and our children before they get into the system. So tell me just briefly, how would that interact? You say you're going to talk to the different agencies. How do you plan to make that communication or make that more effective in knowing what the pieces are?
So first and foremost, the HEAT program that y'all just implemented in the Birmingham City Schools, Judge Hunt-Hilliard went to a conference last year and was just a huge fan. I would love to know more about the HEAT program, how we can get all of my team trained in that. So while you're dealing with proactively with the kids inside in the schools, essentially what we do is we figure out which school they've been to, which school did you last attend actually, and work with that counselor, figure out what that looks like for the for credits, for grade wise, what are some of the issues that we had, chronic absenteeism, that kind of thing, and really make that school member a part of that team. Now, if that, obviously if we've got to relocate and the schools shift and the schools are different, there are also federal programs, McKinney-Vento, where they provide transportation to and from schools. Part of the technology element is if there is, say, a concern about gang retaliation or danger, we can send that, we can make that child eligible for online schooling and still make sure that those things are available to them.
Thank you. I do appreciate the information you shared. I don't want to ask all the questions because I know we've got a lot of information here, but thank you. Appreciate
yes, ma'am.
Councilor Abbott?
Well, all I have to say is wow, because this is big. I just thank you all, and wherever Mr. Mayor went. I've heard a lot of stories from people about how they're going to do something about our murder rate and do something about our youth, and all of them sounded kind of weak. And this doesn't sound weak. And I'm just so impressed. It sounds very strong, and I can't imagine not being in favor of it. I did want to ask about the 30 days combined over a calendar year that the youth has to be out of home. Mm-hmm. And it says committed to DYS, which I assume is our Department of Youth Services. It's not.
There's the actual that's state custody, the state Department of Youth Services.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't think we had any place to keep anybody.
That's juvie.
We can barely keep ourselves, much less anybody else. So I just wondered what that meant. But I guess everybody's got the same name.
AKA juvie.
Yeah. Been there. No fun. Thank you. That's really my only question, because this just sounds fabulous. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. Councilor Clark.
I just wanted to applaud you all for this initiative, and I guess one of the things I'm really wondering about, I know the children, the youth must meet 6 out of 10 of the criteria on that list to be eligible for these services. What's going to make the family willing to try to change? I mean,
Willing may be kind of so these families are court ordered already to engage in services. So just by nature that they have been committed to a Department of Youth Services facility, they have already been adjudicated, which means they've been, the equivalent would be found guilty or not guilty. But it's found true, or allegations are found true or not true in juvenile court.
Okay, so it's like a criminal neglect sort of.
Well, parents are made a
situation.
party to those cases, so they are responsible for ensuring that the adolescent, that the youth in question completes these services.
Okay.
But it is an added tool that Judge Hunt Hilliard and the judges at family court and the referees can use to assist the family with compliance. But again, a lot of what we hear from the families that we serve now through our different programs is, I couldn't get there, I had a job, I didn't have childcare, I didn't have transportation. And what we're really trying to do, one of the biggest line items is transportation. So, for instance, when they come down to come in front of their judge, to come in front of, to meet with their mental health officer, to meet with their probation officer, they're meeting with us too. So we're trying to eliminate those transportation barriers. Mom doesn't have to take off 4 days of work to hit 4 different providers. She can come and hit it in 2 hours. But willingness, obviously, we can't want it more than them.
Yeah,
But
I was just wondering if there could be another factor, because you can't serve everybody, and I think families are sort of triaged. There are some who are never going to do anything different no matter what you do, and there are probably some who may need to be persuaded a little bit before they can really engage in the services and get some results. And there are probably another category of families who just need the opportunity. And so how do you, layer in another factor where you evaluate the families? I mean, that seems kind of unfair, but I mean, we don't have resources to waste. And I know, I just feel like some people
Well, if
may
they're
not
court
be-
appointed, they're going to go to jail if they don't do that's their motivation, not to go to jail.
Well, and that's true, but that doesn't help the family either, to be frank. So honestly, when you're looking at, it's built 3-pronged. Like I said, we've got the systems level, but we have a selection committee. We recognize this is a pilot program. So we have a ton of kids that could benefit from this, but how do we choose the ones that are going to be the 120 that we serve in 1 year? Right. So we have a team that does that. So if they have a capital murder charge, those children, those youth will probably, assuming everything goes, that they are found true, they could go from however they are until age 21. So that, to me, that is not a youth that would qualify for this. We're looking for somebody, right, we're looking for those who are just about there. And, if you just give them one more free pass, it's probably not going to go well. So this is where we have a selection team, and those team members include the POs, include the case managers, include mental health, and so they also are coming at it with...
So you can evaluate some likelihood of success.
Right,
with,
so we know
with
that...
all these...
Right,
Yeah.
we know if mom has been compliant in the past, or we know that if the kid is really difficult to work with, or if they just need a chance.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds better. And this is like a demonstration. I was wondering about the 1 year because we get this stood up, we get it working well, but that's why you're going to come back and communicate with us so that we can sort of track success and lessons learned and tweaks along the way and then try to scale it, I would imagine.
Yes. And we do have an adolescent workforce development program that, like I said, we take community referrals, and we take referrals for kids who have maybe just had a contact, an early intervention, or some type of smaller contact with family court, or with the Helping Families Initiative through DA Carr, they've had almost a systems level contact and they're at risk. So we've got other programs that we can use for those type of situations. But this is for the folks who affiliate with gangs, who affiliate with having come back multiple times through family court. And that's why we said 30 days in a calendar year, because you can come in for 5 or 10 days and go away, and 3 months come back for 5 or 10 days, go away, come back for 5 or 10 days. But that right there lets us know there is something going on. We need to bring this kid in and assess it through the selection committee.
Okay, well, again, thank you. I did want to ask one more question, though, because the pattern, I think, trying to interrupt this pattern of repeat offense is very important. What about, I'm just wondering, are there programs in place to, because I think Counselor Alexander sort of alluded to the prevention side, but, that first time juvenile offender before, like some kind of intervention strategy so that, are there programs that focus on the first time to try to get them back on track so that they don't become this pattern doesn't set up.
So again, because of our unique ability to be placed right inside family court, we've got offices there. They can come, that we can receive referrals for just simple case management. Again, we leverage those relationships with our PO, our probation officers, with our intake officers to give us that information and just let us know, hey, this person in the family is reaching out, this child needs help. What are your ideas on some resources that could help? And that's kind of where this all started, is we're seeing that more and more, and before we even had the chance to follow up with a referral, they've picked up a charge. So now that our staff is expanding, we've asked for 2 more people in this, we would be able to turn those around a lot quicker.
Okay. And I just want to compliment the team behind you, because I heard 2 of them speak at the sneaker soiree, and I was very inspired by just, some more innovative approaches to, tackling these issues. So hats off to you all, and you too, Judge. I want you all to keep hammering at this. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Tate, do you have anything?
Just real quickly, Madam President, first of all, I want to thank the mayor and his team for making this investment. I also want to thank Judge Hunt Hilliard, Ms. Greer Brandon, who also, and you, Carrie. This is a very thought-out, robust opportunity for this city. So a lot of key things that you guys said really stuck out to me. Working in silos. I have been preaching that, because if we don't cut this silo stuff out, we're going to miss the mark. We really are. And working tangibly together, because everybody needs to know what everybody's doing. And so I really like the idea of bringing in, partners, that's working with you all, like Carmon Owens, I know that comes over there, working with you guys. I think Milton King has been over there as well, working with you guys. And so I just really, I can't even imagine what the judge goes through every day, seeing, the same repeated cycle over and over again. And as you stated, Carrie, it's super important when you're working, with POs, probation officers. Let me make sure that we know what that means. And being one myself, that you're able to recognize, people that are spiraling, and able to go back, to the judge to like, hey, I need to put this condition on this person. And what I'm super excited about is the family unit, the whole unit working together with everybody. Because what you said, if you work with a child and you send them back into that environment, you're gonna miss. So working with the family unit, is so important. But I am so excited for you all. And one other key thing that you said is coming back, reporting out. I like that measurable outcome, what you've done to change a person and measure their success. So kudos to you guys. Anything that I can do, I'm gonna be working closely as chair of public safety. So I'm excited about this, because this is a part of the public health epidemic crisis that the nation is in. So we got to stand up, programs like this. And so coming back, educating those who don't quite understand, what this is and why we need to be moving effectively in this way, I'm excited for you all. So anything that I can do to support you guys, let me know.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Tate. When I said core point, I was talking about the parents, not the children. Because the parents, a lot of times, they could just kind of leave these kids to fend for themselves a lot of times. And I know one kid personally, his dad moved him to another state and just left him alone. And guess where he's at, y'all? In prison. For capital murder. He's going to be in there 25 years, but he was a great kid. Luckily, he's getting his GED and everything. But, it just makes me sad that at the age of 18, because it's 18 over there, that one mistake, and now he's like, and he was on the way to playing college basketball, but I do have a couple of questions. I see the timeline. So are you all on track for everything? Because I see the timeline, it says that the start date will be now. Is that still right?
Well, yes, we were originally scheduled to come in front of all of you in December, so I would probably push that to February or March.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so everybody's been educated, trained?
I have not.
No,
We have not. Now, we have done a lot of training with our, I know Ms. Greer has been talking to her people at the detention center. I think Judge Hunt Hilliard and the court's administration have been having discussions as well. I think everybody's just waiting for the ball to drop so we can just hit the ground running. But a lot, like I said, a lot of what we're doing, we're kind of doing already. We just have never targeted the really intense cases yet.
Okay. I don't know if somebody's asked this. How many kids are you looking to service? Do you have a target number, or is just as many kids?
Our target number for the first year is 120.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
So we're looking at, if we do a calendar year, we're looking at 10 a month and working with 2 case management teams.
Oh, that's really, really good. That's a good number. And then last question. I know you guys have a budget for transportation. Have you thought about also using the bus system as well, especially the, what is it, the express transit? You guys, we have.
And
okay.
we also give these folders out to any family who comes in, and we know we may not ever see them again. So you don't get the same folders, but they have the information for Max Transit. They have the information for Express Transit. But our issue is for our, especially like I was saying, a lot of our kids come from Center Point. It doesn't go that far.
Okay.
And so what we're looking at is if we can use if we can use the bus systems, we do. But if that's not possible, then we use Lyft.
Okay, I just wanted to ask. Well, I really want to commend the 4 of you all. I really think very highly of you all, Carrie. We always thought, thank you for everything you do. Judge Hilliard, thank you for that work. I know it's very hard. And thank you for giving these kids a second chance, because a lot of judges really literally look at our black and brown children and say, just go on, go to juvie. I don't want to deal with it. You're already a bad kid. So I really want to thank you that, because I've heard judges say that, honestly. And Monique, thank you for the work that you do with the youth. And Brandon Johnson, I'm really, really proud of you. I know you've been working for 5 years on a lot of these things. So I'm really excited to see this and us not giving up on our kids. I think it's really, really important, because I know you guys know a whole bunch of adults. I think if they had this program, they would have been stellar citizens, or maybe not even go back to prison, honestly. So I'm glad we were able to give them hope. And like I said, keeping these parents accountable, right? So what's the point, rehabilitating these kids if they're going to go back into these same environments that really caused them to make these actions? So thank you, Mayor Woodfin, for this. This is huge for our kids. So Councilor Abbott, do you have anything?
I just have one other question. It's about the criteria of gang membership. And so if there are kids that are in trouble but they're not a member of the gang, then they can't be in this program?
No, ma'am. That's just one of the criteria. So, and a lot of this information is self-reporting. Some kids don't self-report that, but some do. And some indicate, when I'm gone, who's going to watch out for my siblings while I'm away? And that helps us work with that family. But that's just one of the criteria, and it would probably depend. That type of thing really helps us also make sure that we don't have rivalries in one case management team. We need them maybe down the road, after we've given them more tools, to sit down and understand the differences, and they're really not that different. But on the front end, we need them to be thinking about themselves and how to have other tools and coping mechanisms besides their street family.
Good, thank you. I'm glad that was only a criteria. And I'll read this more thoroughly tonight, because it is a lot of information. But thank you for giving us a lot of information, because some of us don't sleep very well, and we can read a lot at night.
Well, and my card is in there, my cell phone number's in there, my email address is in there. I'd be glad to speak with any one of y'all about anything, and I'm sure so would any of the team.
Yeah, and businesses might be happy to sponsor some youth, because businesses not only are they affected by crime, but they need employees. And if your employees are in prison, then you're not getting them. So, you know, I mean, to me, well, it's not sort of, it's inspirational, and I would think that there might be some people in the business community who'd be willing to sponsor a certain number of slots just to know that something positive is being done to try to help these young people. So, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Councilor Tate?
I just got one more quick question, piggyback off of what Councilor Abbott said. When you said, Carrie, about the rivalries, because is Salem Green over there with you guys as well?
I'm sorry?
Salem Green? Salem?
The poet?
Salem. Okay, so she does a lot of the healing and restorative work, so like that peacemaking and peace building. So is that like inside the program as well, like restorative justice?
Well, I believe, Councilwoman Tate, that we can make it one.
She hasn't come over yet, but we've been in discussion, so she was going to have, she's going to be inside of youth detention, but we're still putting together the stakeholder group, so absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I just want, just like how do we restore, and mediate that peace. So that's something good to, think about incorporating in that restorative piece.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I just thought about this. Judge Hilliard came to me and talked to us when I first got in office. I really have got to commend you for finding an alternative way to be a one-stop shop for these kids, because I know originally you had another plan and it fell through. So I want to, kudos to you and Carrie for your tenacity and really your determination to still get this done and not letting one roadblock keep you from helping these kids. So I just want to say publicly, really thank you. So, okay. Well, if nobody has anything else, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Thank you, guys. Good luck.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next item is item 19. Is a presentation, is a resolution of intent to provide financial support for the construction and maintenance upgrades of various City of Birmingham cultural and historical assets owned and operated by the City of Birmingham. And then, I don't know if you guys want both. Okay, a resolution of intent to provide a financial commitment to the employees of the City of Birmingham.
Move the item.
Second.
I think this is only for informational purposes. Correct.
It's either that or it's free.
Yes, today for information purposes, and then we look forward to referring this to Committee of the Whole. Yes, ma'am. Or whatever pleases this body. So how about we just start and then we go from there?
Yes, sir.
Well, again, Madam Chairwoman and committee members as well as other councils, I want to thank you all for your time today. Before you are two resolutions of intent. One is dealing with what I would define as a combination of things. Cultural amenities and assets, historic venues, as well as sports and entertainment. I define them along a corridor from west to north. One being Rickwood Field, two being the Crossplex, three being Legion Field, and fourth being what would be defined as the entire Uptown District. When you get into the detail of that, two of those sites, the first and third, are historic in nature, owned and operated by the city. The third is historic in nature, but this is more so going vertical with a new facility on the site being the Family Fun Center, and the fourth being what I would define as the completion of a vision that started 40 years ago, got clearer under the direction of Larry Langford back in 2007, 2009, and then has continued from William Bell along myself, starting with not only those two hotels being the Sheraton and Westin, not in addition to that, the restaurants, in addition to that, the convention space. In addition to that, you have a refurb on the basketball arena being Legacy Arena. In addition to that, a new football stadium, and then the completion of the last, will be the last, I guess, to hold this entire space would be the amphitheater. And so in order, I wanted Chaz Mitchell, Chief of Operations, to present to you some more information and detail around Rickwood Field and what we're doing to take care of a facility that we are responsible for, that we own and operate, and potential future opportunity that we need to strike a balance of what we say publicly versus what we not say. And then moving from that, the Crossplex, which head of our economic development will present to you more detail on the 3-pager that was presented to you over the weekend around the next steps on the Family Fun Center, and then we'll continue from there.
So, Madam Chair and committee members, thank you again for the opportunity to present the item. One of the first items that the mayor noted is that we wanted to put more money into our Legion Field facility. In your email that we sent on Saturday morning, we listed a few things that we see that are priorities that's related to keeping the old gray lady up and going. So right now, those are just a few of the minor things that we feel like it's imperative for us to keep moving forward, to have hosting of different events. And it just includes a whole host of things that over the years have just deteriorated, and we just want to get them up to code or up to a standard where when people come to Legion Field, they can feel like they're... No, we're talking about Legion Field.
My bad.
Legion Field, to make sure that people have a good game day or any type of concert experience when they reach our facility. Like I said, this is just a low-level look at what the needs are right now. They have some more other needs that we're looking to try and fund in the future that we'll probably present to this committee and to this council. But what's before you right now, the $4 million asks are just a various amount of things that we feel like are imperative just to keep Legion Field at a standard of just having it up to code to provide a service to citizens or people that come into our city. That's Legion Field. Rickwood, we're asking this committee and this council so this is one of our historical landmarks in the city of Birmingham. Let's just leave it with that. And it's the oldest baseball stadium in the United States. So right now we are at a milestone actually between the city of Birmingham, the Friends of Rickwood, and some outside agencies that we're looking to improve Rickwood Field in order to gain access to a lot of other events that will put Rickwood back on the map again. We have not done this in a silo. We have had these conversations with the Friends of Rickwood, our own internal staffing, and this outside agency where we feel confident with this amount and what the Friends can raise in the future, we can have a very large scale event that can come to Rickwood and put that particular site and the city on a very large world scale, world class event. So what's before you again, like I said, is $2 million just to do some minor improvements that can get it up to a standard, a minimum standard of hosting some type of large scale event that we feel like we are very confident in getting. Those are those two, and as the mayor said, we can bring up, if you have any questions on those, I can answer those before we bring up Mr. Cornell Wesley to talk about the Family Fun Center.
Madam Chairwoman, that may be better because these are 4 different things, so we can pause before we continue as it relates to those 2 venues.
Okay, that's fine. You can bring up Mr. Wesley.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Cornell Wesley, and I serve as the Director for the Office of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. So once again, before you, we are excited about the resurgence of the West Side. We've had tremendous success having landed a grocery store, and this, what we believe, will be a bookend in terms of the activity and the resurgence of the West Side. And so as the mayor has already illuminated, that this is an activity that began well before many of us as it relates to starting with Mayor Langford and Bell, and now our hope is to complete it under this administration. So the Birmingham Family Fun Center is a 50 to 60,000 square foot facility that will include a bowling alley, roller skating park, e-sports, senior facilities, event space, board gaming arena, a bounce zone, and 4, and I take this as a point of personal privilege, sensory rooms that will address and have a space, a safe space for our special needs children as well as adults. Currently where we are as an update is in the development phase, the pre-development phase, and so we are engaging consultants who will walk us through about 24 items ranging from site demolition and consulting and site survey, topographical information, civil site design. I will tell you that we are working with people who are very familiar with the site and that were engaged in its original construction, and so they have some institutional knowledge. So we should be able to save time on this discovery phase with a target of being complete prior to the next budget cycle, at which point we will reconvene and come before you. Excitingly, the council has already approved funds for the Cross Place redevelopment by way of the CDA, so those resources are already available, so we don't have a specific ask for you at this time. Be happy to entertain any questions around the Family Fun Center.
Okay. Councilor Abbott?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, is this Family Fun Center going to be on the portion of the Crossplex property that still has nothing on it?
That is correct. There's nothing on this site.
So it doesn't include that parking deck over behind the shopping center that needs to be demolished?
No, ma'am. This is on the opposite end of the Crossplex site, closer to the retention pond.
Yeah, Ms. Abbott, it will be located where the former grandstands used to be?
Exactly.
I vaguely remember those from the old days.
From the older days.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to know exactly where it would be. I know Councilor Hoyt will be very excited in his retirement, because I think this is something that he wanted about 10 or 15 or 20 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, from up in Michigan or someplace. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam President.
Yes, thank you. I'm very excited to hear this.
Where are you going, Mr. West?
My apologies. Yes, ma'am.
Very excited to hear about this. As someone used to go to the state fair and all these type of things out there.
I went to, yeah.
You know, just so many things have been out there. Do want to question the timeline for this particular piece.
Yes.
So what, spring 2023, that's completion of
the pre-development phase.
Pre-development phase.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I had to ask.
Okay. Councilor Clark or Tate?
Thank you, President Pro Tem Smitherman. Just trying to understand, I felt like I had something to refer to in my email, but I didn't really see any detail in the email. So you called it pre-development. This is where you're confirming your budgets and what the conceptual design is going to be in terms of, you know, is it the Taj Mahal, or does it have VCT in it? And then you'll come back to us to really try to set up the money.
That's correct.
To do the full project and hire an architecture firm to develop construction documents?
Yes, we'll, at that point, it will be appropriate to, as I understand the law, to bid it out.
Okay. Well, so you're doing design?
No, ma'am. We are, again, this is pre-development. That's correct.
Okay.
So all of the things that we can do up until this point.
Okay. And I remember that it as it lays out, it only takes up a part of that vast vacant space out there. And I know the community was asking about a master plan. Is there an exercise that's going along with this to sort of conceptualize what the rest of the site, or how the rest of the site might be developed? Remember, there was a question about, are you going to piecemeal us? And,
that's right.
You know, today is this and tomorrow is some. I mean, is there a way to get a whole vision for the rest of the site that the city controls?
So we did not want the grass to grow on our feet in terms of this opportunity and the resources that were available. So we view this as phase one of a mass expansion, or rather master plan for the developments for the rest of the site. Notably, to the degree that I can share without breaking confidentiality, there are other conversations around other parcels on that site that are well underway as well. So what we're working with today may be very different than what we'll be hopefully finishing the master plan for on tomorrow.
Okay.
Simply putting, we may not have the same amount of acreage based upon the conversations we have from a recruitment standpoint.
And to be clear, well, not to be clear, just to add to what he's saying, because I know you represent this area, our focus for 2023 is making sure we do everything to get this going.
Okay.
everything. So in this phase, related to the Family Fun Center, this is not just talk, time, resources, commitment to make sure that we are well on the way in 2023 moving forward with this project.
Okay, well, I'm excited about that. I do want to encourage sort of a look at the whole site, even if, it's the city planners doing it and not necessarily hiring out a land planning firm or something. And I know that the wayfinding system, so that people would be, people who visit the Fun Center would be aware of the BRT station nearby, and just ways to point people to other things that they may not be able to visually connect to when they stand on that site. That there's restaurants way down that way, and public transportation way over that way.
Yes.
But if you can, just think about that too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilor Tate.
Congratulations, Mr. Wesley.
Thank you very much.
Mayor. I know the pandemic rollers, all the skaters are going to be very happy because I got some skates in my car and I'm ready. That's it. Congratulations. I'm excited to see my colleague get this in her district. So it's just going to be very fun. So 8 and 9 back up together along with 7. So we're going to be coming over there skate.
Very good. Very cool.
You'll let all of us in. That's sweet.
I think I'm going to go for the arcade games, so I'll meet y'all over there. But what was I about to ask? 2 things. Y'all weren't going to get away with the 4th one, Uptown. Are we going to hear something about Uptown?
Oh, yeah. So, yes, ma'am, we're not done.
Oh, you're not done? It was just these? Okay.
Not done at all. We just got to the first 3.
Okay.
I do want to say this before we talk about the 4th item. I think it's extremely important that, this is not to the council, but this is a public meeting, so this is to the public, that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. These 4 items are bigger than the district they sit in. These are 4 city assets that, in the nature they provide some form of family fun for everybody. It's not isolated to a certain group or a certain side of town, so it's extremely important that I say that. The other thing is we are very clear in our priorities. We can do these 4 items and also do the other things we're responsible for. So coming before you soon, we will be talking about recreation centers in districts. We will be talking to you about pools in city council districts. We will be talking to you about libraries in districts. We can do all of the above. This is not an or situation. This is an and situation. But we're deliberate and intentional when and how we're presenting things. And so this is just the first. And so I just wanted to state that as the 4th item comes up, which is the amphitheater, which will be presented by Tad Snyder. And as he comes...
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. I just thought about it for the other 3. So Legion Field, whenever this is passed, will the maintenance upgrades be done in time for Morehouse, Tuskegee Classic, Magic City Classic? Will they be done by the end?
Yeah, it just depends on what items we go ahead and go and put out for bid. Most of the things that we have already been scoped out by capital projects. Okay. So we're confident that once the funding is approved, we can go ahead and just start the process of upgrading the restrooms or things like that. Yes.
Okay.
We'll provide a timeline to the council on each.
Okay.
Each
thank
item.
you, Councilor Abbott.
Well, the mayor's comments made me want to ask one more question, and that is, so this is the beginning of the list of city-owned assets that we're going to start maintaining.
Yes,
and there
ma'am.
will be others that are of interest to the entire area, such as Vulcan Park and the Botanical Gardens and the zoo and other things that we own that are big attractions.
Well, we own Botanical Gardens. I'm not going to say, do we own the other 2? No, own the other 2, do we? Not technically. Something of that nature. I think what you'll see us go deeper into the neighborhoods first. If you ask me for a particular order, the next thing we'll bring before you.
No, I just wanted to know that all of our city assets that we own are on the list and eventually we'll get to them.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Like in my lifetime?
Absolutely.
Good.
And Council, just to verify and just bring more clarity to it, if you recall that we did a warrant refinancing a couple months ago, well, actually a year ago to the day of February, and one of those couple of items had a couple street paving projects, some ALDOT projects, Vulcan Park. Actually, Rickwood was on there for some low-level things that we wanted to do for that. So we're intentionally trying to do more and more with our facilities as we get money available.
Yes.
Well, it's been a lifelong complaint of mine, or at least since I've been on the council, that we don't maintain what we already own, but we like to build new shiny things that we can all stand in front of and cut the ribbon. And I really want us to maintain what we already built, because nothing works without maintenance.
Yes, ma'am. And I think you're making a point. I guess I failed to state. If I did state it, I'll restate it. We can do both, Ms. Abbott. We can maintain and invest in the infrastructure of the things we already have, and we can build new things for our community. We can do both.
And remember, in my lifetime.
In your lifetime. I have it on good authority based on your genes. I have it on good authority based on your genes and generations. You're going to be around for a very long time, so I am very confident it's all good.
You know, there's no guarantees.
Understood.
Next week I could be gone, so hurry up.
That's really morbid. Mr. Snyder, can you come up?
So
hurry up.
As we change the subject, as we bring Mr. Snyder up.
As long as we're all smiling, everything's...
Yes, ma'am. Before Mr. Snyder speaks, I want everybody to know that let's complete Uptown. That's the biggest thing I would like to say. There's an opportunity for a host of venues to exist on one site to be in a position to attract many things to our city. I think the financial investment we made in 2018 related to the new football stadium, as well as the refurb and upgrades to Legacy Arena, have already paid dividends. I think we see that. I think what he is about to present will be the last leg and will continue to draw opportunity to the city of Birmingham around sports and entertainment. With that, I give you Tad Snyder.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Another project very much in the development phase still, because it's going to require, and we'll touch on each of these, a partnership among 6 different entities to make this amphitheater project and turn it into reality, take it out of just an idea in the development phase to actually begin to construct and build and prepare to operate. Those entities are the BJCC, Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center Authority, the one you've seen some action on already, the Greater Birmingham Convention and Visitors Bureau, City of Birmingham, Jefferson County, who will ultimately be the entity that's the managing partner of the amphitheater, because the BJCC will not manage and operate this venue, which is a big deviation from the way we normally operate, but we feel like the value of the project to the city, and speaking of what the mayor said about it completing our convention and entertainment district, is so important. Just like with City Walk, it's something we had to participate in, even though we don't directly benefit from it, because it's a good project for our community. And then also ultimately with the developer of the greater Caraway Property Holdings, Corporate Realty, that last partner. And just know, as we progress through this development phase, each one of those agreements has to be successfully worked through for any of them to go into effect. Just like the Convention and Visitors Bureau agreement, unless we put all 6 of or 5 of these agreements together, the agreement with the Convention and Visitors Bureau doesn't go into effect. So there are kind of checks and balances as we move along, that all the partners involved in this are at the table, are engaged at a structure that actually works for the funding and the ongoing operation of the amphitheater project. Just to touch on it briefly, part of that has been envisioned to be an 8,500 to 9,000 seat amphitheater as an anchor or a primary attraction as a part of the redevelopment of the Caraway Hospital campus. Over the course of the discussion of the project, the BJCC has kind of been part of the project, not part of the project, part of the project, not part of the project. But really in about late 2020, early 2021, efforts began in earnest to figure out how to fund the amphitheater portion of the Caraway Hospital redevelopment project. We identified early on that there were some tools we had through capturing of certain transactional taxes the amphitheater would generate. And then we looked at another, which will be the primary opportunity for debt service, to take the lodging tax portions that are generated by the authority's own Sheraton Birmingham Hotel, Westin Birmingham Hotel, that were directed to the Convention Bureau, not to another entity, and to repurpose those for this project. We were successful with that in late October. The Convention Visitors Bureau Board was receptive to being a partner. A lot of appropriate dialogue around that process and discussion led to successful passage of a resolution by that board, by the CVB. Again, that will not go into effect until all these other agreements are also worked through. But to be the primary source of debt service, to support around $30 million borrowing. Early in the discussion, too, it was identified with not only the county, ourselves, with Mayor Woodfin's team. We did not want to require an ongoing annual contribution from any entity other than the taxes that I mentioned from the CVB. So from the city or from the county, no ongoing commitment. So we just need to figure out how to have a one-time buy down of some of the capital costs and then use the taxes that the project generates along with the revenues from the Sheraton and Westin to fund the rest of the debt service. Let's see. That annual estimated debt service is around $2.1 million. Timing becomes kind of important to this too, because we've noticed interest rates have gone up, continue to increase. Inflation has caused construction costs to go up. There's some indications that may level off or soften, but right now, understanding around $2.1 million in those two tax source buckets will fund around $30 million of the project. Again, I mentioned in late October, the CVB agreed to allowing those lodging taxes from Sheraton Westin to be used. The Alabama Department of Tourism also, around that same action, committed $3 million to the CVB to help offset some of that loss, so that the State Department of Tourism is involved in allowing the CVB portion of that project to go forward. The BJCC board, in late October, committed to a $5 billion contribution towards the buy down of the project, again, among four parties: BJCC, the management partner entity, that's just still being negotiated, so I'm careful how I choose those words, the city and the county, to all contribute $5 million each towards that buy down. It's looking like the BJCC portion may actually need to be more than $5 million based on continuing interest rates, but we're not going to come back to any of the partners and ask for any more than we're talking about today. If we get into cost overruns, if we get into some additional costs required to complete the project, similar to what we did with the stadium and the refurbishment of the arena, the Civic Center is willing to accept that risk. So kind of where we are today, with the CVB portion of the contributions among those five parties complete, is discussions with the city, discussions with the county, continuing to negotiate the letter of intent and ultimate management agreement for the amphitheater with the managing partner, and continuing to work with Corporate Realty as the developer of the site on land acquisition and some of the other development-related costs that would go into a development agreement the Civic Center would hold with Corporate Realty. All those have to be completed for any of these agreements to trigger and any of the contributions to actually be an obligation of any of the parties. So what are we doing now? Again, we're working through that management of the letter of intent and the operating agreement with Live Nation, talking to the city, talking to the county. We've restarted design services. We've already advanced about $600,000 of soft costs towards actually designing something that could be estimated, so we know the ask we're making is based on what it's going to cost to actually build the amphitheater. And we have a program manager retained, again, to help us manage that project. That's kind of where we are today. I know the action around the CBD got a lot of attention, kind of got ahead of where things actually were, and we apologize that played out the way it did. No one was quite expecting that. But again, this is still very much in the putting the pieces of the puzzle together phase, and wanted to share that with you today. And with that, you would...
Okay, thank you. Madam President, do you have any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Snyder, for bringing this information to us. As Mayor Woodfin had talked about, this is sort of a circle of completion for this entire area or this entertainment district that we've been wanting to provide to our residents and to visitors. So,
Yeah, and I think it builds on, I think a lot of people were surprised when we were able to successfully recruit Topgolf to be in this location. That was a land lease. Some might not know it's a ground lease the Civic Center Authority did with the owners of that concept. Like everything else we do, it'll take us 30 years to get our investment in that back. But again, we had to get that type of activity going on in our convention and entertainment area to begin to show our competitors that we're not just sitting still, because none of our other competing cities are. They're continuing to invest in these facilities, and we're trying to lead the way for us to do the same type of thing for Birmingham.
well, I'm excited about the vision because I think I'm like a lot of residents. We thought, so we put Topgolf out there. What else is coming? So again, it does bring that circle of completion. So I think my next question is really going to be to the mayor after we finish all of this, and I'll be talking more about timeline and how this is going to be presented in total to the council with more definitive dollars and where this will come from. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go back to you, Ken.
Okay, thank you, Council Abbott.
I'm good.
Okay. You know,
I had kind of a surprised look on his face, but you know, he said he could walk and chew gum at the I'm giving him his space.
I think I like Council Abbott this term. Council Clark and Tate. Y'all vending?
Don't get your...
I don't get too excited.
No, this is the calm before the storm with her. Okay. I do have a couple of questions for Mr. Snyder, though. And it's really the financial arrangement and the firms he used. Has the BJCC done a bond issue with only one firm before?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And why does the council not have a say in the financial arrangement when we're one of the entities funding it?
It will help me answer your question in terms of the financial arrangement, specifically what part of the transaction. I want to make sure I answer your question.
The bond part, the bond issuance.
Yeah. So, you want...
Your first question is really important. We had could you explain what the financial advisor on behalf of the BJCC presented in almost a 45-minute meeting? I think that's important to provide context to all of us.
Yeah, so the Civic Center Authority is a state of Alabama corporation. It's similar to the city in that the Civic Center engages a municipal financial advisor. In our case, that's Porter White and Company, to advise the board of the BJCC, who will be ultimately be the entity that issues the debt, on the whole process of packaging it up, getting ready to finance. And the board of the BJCC follows the advice of our municipal financial advisor following the Dodd-Frank Act back in 2008. You probably remember the way this kind of thing gets done with solicitation from different financial interests in this type of transaction got very regulated. So that's why it flows through that municipal financial advisor. Ultimately, the underwriter that was recommended by Mr. White is someone who's been working in conjunction with the rest of the Caraway project for a number of years. So ultimately the advice was, based on the size of the issuance at $30 million, the fact there hasn't been a single transaction under $30 million conducted in the state of Alabama in the last 16 months, I believe it was, that involved more than one underwriter at an issuance of that size or lower. That was the recommendation that our municipal financial advisor made. It wasn't picked by me, wasn't picked by any single board member. It was a recommendation from our municipal financial advisor.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering about that piece of this initiative. I will say this publicly. I hope that the board and yourself really continues to bring the council to the table. I think sometimes we have initiatives that come up and we're told at the last minute, and then we're asked to give money for things. So I just hope in the future that you will consider making sure Madam President is at the table for different initiatives you may bring to the City Council moving forward.
Absolutely.
Ms. Chairman, was your second question answered? I wanted to make sure your second question was answered as well.
I understand. And then my only question for administration is that whenever we do have this vote before the full council, that we not lump all 4 of these together and that we vote on them individually, if that's fair.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's it. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Madam President.
That's okay, thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on that timeline. I know today was a presentation in Budget and Finance just with this intent. What would follow? We've got CLW on the 18th.
Yeah, so the CLW will be on the 18th. In the ideal world, we will be in a position to come back before you all. We'll be able to come before the Committee of the Whole on the 18th, Wednesday the 18th, and then come back before this entire council body, I believe Tuesday the 31st.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And one-on-ones in addition to that, and then as deep as we need to go on answering all questions, satisfying any outstanding issues, concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, for that question.
Yes,
I know we were wondering about that. Okay. And then the next one is the financial commitment to the employees of the City of Birmingham.
I mean, like really important stuff. Totally forgot about that. Sorry. So in the same vein as a resolution of intent, we want to be in a position to continue to invest in our employees. We believe we will have a financial opportunity to come soon. Hopefully, mid-year review is coming soon as well. That we'll be able to come back before this council and make a recommendation of a significant cost of living adjustment at 5%. Recall that this body supported our employees. If I'm correct, it went into effect May of 22. And so we're fortunate to do this, that within a 12-month period, that's a 10% cost of living adjustment, which is significant where we are and being competitive and continuing to invest in our employees, not only to say thank you, but something that they deserve. Separate and apart from that, you have a situation that in a 151 year existence, that in that entire time span, in the last 12 months, Birmingham Fire Rescue Services has continued to receive an overwhelming volume of calls. And they have also, separate from that, certain standards that they have to abide by as it relates to the number of men and women on the truck, as well as a paramedic. Now, their department is fortunate in the sense that if they have positions available, they don't have to worry about filling them. They're able to recruit at a rate that makes me jealous for all the other departments. However, we need to be in a position to make sure they have all the available positions that are needed and to satisfy their standards, as well as handle the call volume. With that, before you, I believe, is 37 positions that are hybrid and combined to make sure they're in a position to continue to provide services at a level. Chief Moon and his team, Dean, will make them responsible to responding to 911 calls, etc.
Sure. Madam President, do you have any?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Councilor Abbott. Okay, I think everybody's, of course, so, okay. Thank you. Do we have to vote on anything or? Okay, well, I move that, well, I'm not supposed to move, but Madam President.
I move we refer these items to Committee of the Whole.
All in favor say aye. Aye. So we are referring these 2 items to Committee of the Whole on the 18th. Thank you. And then the last one is the informational presentation on transitional housing for the homeless pilot program of pallet shelters.
Well, I'll yield in the interest of time and allow our team members to come up, with our lead team member being Dr. Megan Venable Thomas, as well as Corey Stallworth, to present to you more detail about our pilot program.
And of course, Mr. Datcher.
Oh, Datcher. Oh, I didn't even see him, Madam Chairwoman. Of course, Kelvin Datcher as well.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. I'm excited to present today around our Home for All program, which is a micro-shelter program around transitional housing for folks experiencing homelessness. So you all have gotten a packet. We also have a presentation to show that outlines this. I wouldn't be me if I didn't have a little presentation for you all, just to give you a little high-level information about why we think this program is really critical and why it's really important right now for us to be thinking about this. I think first, as you can see here, thanks to One Roof, which was one of our many partners, on the first page, we have a little bit of information around what folks experiencing homelessness are actually experiencing. And over the past 6 years, we have been seeing a decrease somewhat in homelessness. But if you look at this graph here, you can also see that while sheltered homelessness is decreasing, we are having an uptick in unsheltered homelessness. And so we're going to talk a little bit about why that's important and why this program in particular meets that need. So if you go to the next slide, you can see here that we have about 943 people from the most recent point in time data, which you can find on One Roof's website, who are sheltered and unsheltered on any given night in Jefferson County. And we primarily make up, that amount of folks. Within that number, there's about 600 folks who are sheltered, thanks to the many organizations in our community who are providing these services for folks. But we have about also 342 folks who are unsheltered, which means they are sleeping in parks, under roadways. They're sleeping wherever they can find a place to sleep. And we have of that number 267 who are chronically unsheltered, which means that they have gone to shelter services 1 or 2 times and need more wraparound services to support their ability to actually be in shelter. So if you go to the next slide, I think it's just important so that you can understand who people are, right? Who our neighbors are that are experiencing homelessness. They're veterans, their families, their youth. But a significant portion of that unsheltered community are chronically homeless, right? And so how are we able to meet the need of folks who are experiencing homelessness over and over again? And what kinds of interventions really help to support that population? And what we understand is that because there are so many needs of this community, that housing alone is not the solution. And so how are we thinking about what is a full spectrum of solutions that we can put together in order to support folks who are experiencing homelessness? So you go to the next slide, you can see here that nationally, people experiencing unsheltered homelessness specifically also have significant health needs, right? And so our response has to incorporate a public health solution because folks are dealing with substance challenges, mental health, and physical health, and many are experiencing all three, right? And so a program that is really able to meet the needs of this community has to be intersectional, has to be community-based, and it has to be collaborative. And so I was excited to see the youth program brought before us earlier today because they're understanding the same things that we're understanding with this population. And if we understand that as youth folks are experiencing these types of challenges, then we would understand that as adults, people would be experiencing these challenges as well. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see that shelter makes a difference, right? So when we have folks who are experiencing homelessness, we can see that these health conditions are impacted by whether or not they have shelter. And so how are we able to provide options that are viable for our residents is really critical to how we're able to provide a sustainable solution that gets them to wellness. And ultimately, we want to be able to see a world, a community, a Birmingham where people aren't defined by their history or their experiences, but really the potential that they have for the future. And what we've understand as far as principles for success is that our best strategy is to have partner-led interventions that really, and we're using this pilot to think about how we're leveraging our resources as a city to support our partners in this work. We also understand that options are really critical to our folks experiencing homelessness, and so much of our residents aren't ready to go straight into long-term placement. And so how then are the options we're providing viable for helping them to transition into more sustainable options. And that ultimately, in order to have the most consistent and effective impact for our community, our solutions really have to be thinking about case management and wraparound services that help our most impacted get on their feet, because they need to be able to maintain and get viable health solutions in order to be prepared for housing. So enter our Home for All pilot program, which you'll see on the next program, which really is intended to help decrease the barriers to community residents and to partners to be able to provide viable and innovative solutions that ultimately meet immediate needs of shelter housing, which you saw on our first and second slides is needed, but also to strengthen the capacity of our public service partners to provide operational and programmatic partner-led interventions, as well as create pathways to housing that creates consistent case management, while also having the opportunity to assess the efficacy in a pilot program of how we do this work to prepare for brick and mortar transitional housing, which you'll see in a couple of weeks to come from our Home ARP HUD program that we'll be bringing forward, and all to support a community of practice for our providers to learn and grow together that incorporates us. And so if you look at this, this kind of pathway, we really can see here that there are a number of steps that help people to get to sustainable ownership, potentially, specifically if folks are experiencing homelessness. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that we've focused a lot of attention, as you know, in sustainable home ownership, which is really critically important in our city. We're doing that with Shadowbrook, Oak Hill, Woodlawn, as well as our Choice Neighborhoods submission, which we will be doing very soon. And we've also been focusing on the temporary. We support our public service providers annually with about $800,000 to do the work that they do to provide public services to our most critically at risk in housing, as well as we've helped to develop many of our homeless service providers with some of the developments that they've created. But where we're really needing more support and attention is this middle part of our pathway, the transitional and permanent supportive portion. And so if you remember back to that first slide or second slide, we were able to see there that that transitional portion, we really are only serving about 127 residents in our community. And so being able to have not only the opportunity to address their housing needs in this transitional period, but able to bring those wraparound services is going to be really critical. So this program is focusing on that transitional component. Enter Pallet Shelter. So we in the Department of Community Development, we're really seeking the opportunity to find folks who are creating innovative solutions to address the type of problem that we've just set up here. And we really wanted to focus on a provider that could provide choice to our residents, that could maintain cost, that could create comfort, that could have a speedy deployment, meaning they could rapidly set up and do what we need them to do because this is critical. And that could create a ease of having to maintain and the ability to relocate as we are moving along in our pilot. And so we went through a bid process that selected Pallet Shelter based on all of these reasons. And if you go to the next slide, they are a nationally known, have a product and solutions that they have brought to over 1,000, 1,500, 1,700 they've set up over 1,700 cabins. They've impacted over 4,000 residents in over 63 different communities that they've developed. And so it was really important to us to not only find a solution that was viable, but one that was tested, one that we knew would be able to produce the type of outcomes that we were looking for, and one that not only provided a product, but technical assistance to get us there. So if you go to the next slide, I'll show a little bit about what Pallet Shelter is, and there's a little video so you can kind of see what, if we can get it to play, what that looks like. And you can also go to their website, which is palletshelter.com, to take a look as well.
Madam Chairwoman,
we might not be able to get it to work, perhaps. of what some of these can look like when they land in particular communities, but just so you can see in particular what we are offering to purchase here, the Shelter 64, our version would have one bed, so all of our offerings would be for single occupancy. One of the things we heard from our community was about safety and being able to transition into being in your own space, and that's some of the things that our emergency shelters are unfortunately unable to offer, but here we want to be able to offer that type of living so that folks can really be experiencing what it feels like to transition to transitional housing. If you go to the next slide, you can see the amenities that are provided. This is what is incorporated in the purchase of these shelters. We are also purchasing ADA accessible bathrooms. This second one is a 2-stall bathroom. And then the next slide, you can see the accessible bathroom, and that's what would be available within our pilot program. We also thought it was important to note what it takes to put these together. Here's an opportunity for us to leverage community resources to be able to, and local contracting to be able to set this up. It's very simple, it's easy, and it's quick, it's rapid, and that was really important to us to be able to do that with limited resources. Ultimately, we want to be able to support local contractors to develop this, as well as what I like to call neighbor labor. How can folks, our neighbors, all get involved, in particular those who are being impacted, that want to be able to have opportunities to participate as well. So if you go to the next slide, you can see, and the next slide, the breakdown of what we're purchasing. We're purchasing 50 of our 64-unit pallets, 5 of the 2-stall ADA accessible bathrooms, as well as 3 community rooms, which are really those larger size shelters, like the size of the bathroom, but that's open space that's allowed to be able to be leveraged for community space. Ultimately, this is the price tag that we're looking at that will be coming from our CDBG funding, which is our Community Development Block Grant, in order to fund just the shelters themselves. It would also include assembly services, shipping and handling, the electrical, the bed, custom fitted mattress, as well as all the heating and cooling that is incorporated within the shelter itself. If you go to the next slide, you can see another example of some communities. And again, if you want to take a look at all the offerings in all the communities, they have many case studies on their site around some of the communities that they've set up around the country, which are all really unique and all really beautiful. If you go to the next slide, you can kind of see here what our next steps are. And so we'll be taking this before council tomorrow, and pending council approval, we would be releasing our RFP for providers. And so really, this is our opportunity to, again, support a program that is partner-led, but that opens it up for our partners and providers to submit their proposals, recognizing that they are the experts in this field, to operationally manage what would happen on the sites that they would select. And so they'll be proposing that within this RFP. And I just put all of this here so you could see the amount of time we're taking to engage with our community residents, with our folks who are interested in applying, as well as the surrounding community members as we get closer to selecting finalists that would be interested in providing a proposal for these micro shelters. And so ultimately, it's really giving us an opportunity to bring all of our partners in. We've been working with Alabama Regional Medical Services, One Roof. We've done a number of meetings with our public service providers to even get to the point of the product, as well as what the potential operational needs might be. But so that we can really continue to work together to figure out what are viable projects and opportunities that are going to wrap around these micro shelters, and ultimately the folks in our communities that are going to be living in this community. I think just to add one last thing, it was really important for us to think about not only the needs of the residents, but also the needs of the operational providers, as this is a pilot for us to impact our community while learning about what is really needed optimally to do this type of work, and to be able to transition into brick and mortar transitional housing that we are hopeful that residents in this program will be able to move to once this pilot is complete. So ultimately, this I love this quote that no one should go unsheltered when shelter can be built in a day, and Pallet is the leader in rapid response shelter villages that combine the dignity of personal space with the healing of community, which is what we all ultimately really want and want to be able to provide. And so this is our opportunity to demonstrate our innovation in providing this. At that time, I'll take your questions.
Thank you. That was a really good presentation. So, Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions? We can't hear you. Valerie, you can
So this is the bid for the micro shelters. So the cost is going to be no more than $1 million for the micro shelters themselves. And then when we release the RFP, we're going to be receiving proposals for the operational component of the Home for All program. At that point, we'll be able to evaluate the budgets that proposers are bringing forward to understand the full scope of the budget that would be for the operational component. But today, we're talking about the micro shelters themselves, which will be about $1 million of our CDBG to purchase.
Okay, so 50 of these things cost $1 million?
50 of the 64 shelters, 5 of the ADA accessible bathrooms, as well as 3 of the community spaces, along with the shipping, the delivery, the assembly, the beds, as well as the heating and cooling, which goes into the units, yes.
And so when are you going to provide us with the additional information beyond this? Didn't you say it was coming to the council tomorrow?
Yes, Councilor Abbott, it's actually item number 9 on the agenda for tomorrow, where they had the actual bid of the pallet program, the pallet shelter. That's on the agenda for tomorrow. What she's providing for you is the overall scope of the project.
Yeah,
so
it
you
looks
wouldn't
cool.
so you wouldn't be blindsided when you see pallets on the agenda tomorrow. It's not the actual program. It's just the first step in going ahead and installing the overall program for the pallet program.
And where is this going to be located?
So that's also part of the proposal process. So when we release the proposal, we will have applicants that will provide spaces where they want to operationalize the program, and they will choose the sites that we will then evaluate the efficacy of through the RFP process. So there's no sites yet. People are going to submit where they want to have sites for the micro shelters and the wraparound services to be provided.
And just a note, community development is the team lead. There are other departments and team members that are working on this project as well. When I think about the question where, I think about zoning. Katrina Thomas of PEP is here in support of this project as well, along with Elena Milton, who had to step out, and Don Lupo, as well as legal is here as well, Attorney Sheffield. And so between legal, PEP, community development, and the mayor's office, there's a coordinated effort to make sure we get this right. But we have an intentional design about a request for proposal as it relates to the service provider, which includes possible location as well. So those things are to be determined.
Okay. So the $1 million is for the winner of the RFP.
No, the $1 million is for the purchase of the micro shelters, which we will purchase, and then upon applicants, we will then be deploying them to the locations that we select based on the RFPs that are approved.
Okay, so the RFP is for the operator of the village,
That's right.
the village where the pallets are placed.
That's right.
So I think the city wanted to show its best effort that we had our money on the table to go ahead and buy the shelters to make it more enticing for people to go after the RFP to be the operator of the actual program.
Okay. These people will have to have experience in running something, right? I mean, they...
Yes, yes, ma'am. The request for proposal, once the application process is closed and we receive them, this team will have a very rigorous vetting process. And I trust this professional team to choose those willing and capable partners that want to partner with the city of Birmingham.
Okay. It just seems like 50 shelters and those extra buildings for $1 million. It seems like an awful lot of money for such a tiny little shed, like you would put in your backyard to hold your riding mower. So why do they cost so much?
Well, we did do a bid process for which we had another applicant, and the prices were really similar. And so I think this is just the cost of materials, the cost of deployment, the cost of constructing these, and really to get the best product possible. I think we have to pay for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Abbott. Madam President, did you have any questions?
Yes, just wanted to reiterate, the cost is associated, again, you said shipping, handling. These will be heat as well as air conditioned.
That's right.
So there's the electricity to bring to that, the bedding, the mattress, those type things. I know you're only proposing to buy 50, and then with the bathrooms. And I don't want to get into the weeds of the RFP, but will there be a maximum or minimum number of units that a provider would be allowed to or want to put in place?
Yeah, so it will really depend on the space that they are identifying as the site for where the pallet should go. There are requirements for spacing between them, for design. As the mayor mentioned, we've been working with PEP to talk about zoning, as well as the recommendations from pallet themselves around what optimal conditions are for the shelters. And so it's really going to depend on what the sites are proposing. And then, as I was saying, we are going to be working with them to ensure with the candidates that we think are the most, are the best. We'll be working with them to be able to determine the best design and layout based on their site.
And I'm assuming with the community room, you're buying 3 of those. Is that where you're going to provide some of the additional services, or I don't want to call it continuum of care, but there'll be certain instruments there that they can use for workforce development or training? That's right. And so we would have those available. So again, the requester could say, I want 1 community room for my 10 pallet shelters, and I want to be able to provide services there. The person that's proposing could also have a building, or they could have other types of resources that they have that they're bringing to the table that they're proposing here. And so again, it's really going to be on the applicant to let us know what they need. And to your point, Councilor Abbott, their expertise in the space around what their residents and clients need. And the last thing, I just want to be sure we ensure the security, which I'm certain that will be part of the RFP, but the units themselves lock. That's right. By the individual. That's right. We'll be looking at the overall scope of where these will be placed. Yes, that's a requirement within the RFP for security. All right, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Tate, Councilor Clark, do y'all have any questions?
I just have a quick question, Dr. Thomas. The community room, it's particularly the bathroom. So I did see the photo, and I got a chance to listen to a pallet presentation when we went to the National League of Cities. So would they be private, like if you you got a door? Like each bathroom may have a door?
Yes.
Okay.
So the cabin itself has a door as well, as well as the stall to the bathroom.
Okay. So meals, how will the clients, will the community room, will it house a kitchen or?
That's also what the provider will propose. So they'll propose what the meal plans will be, what partners they might use for meals, etc.
Okay. And I don't want to sound like we're not trying to include, but how are we vetting, the safety of those that will, be a part of the community?
Yes, safety is also in the RFP around what their intake process is. So they are to propose what their intake process is going to be, and what clients that they're going to be bringing into the micro shelter program that they're going to be proposing.
Okay. And finally, are you going to do some painting to humanize the community? Because I would love to help paint.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. I am definitely arts and culture design person, so we are also working with some of our local artists to incorporate within the program for the places that will be identified around landscaping design, etc.
And one final question, what, if you have a mother and a child, so I guess again, that'll be what the provider
That's
would
right.
have in their RFP in case these circumstances, you do have a mother and child, making sure, like, as Madam President said, security and safety is at the forefront to make sure that we are protecting, all of the people there and like humanizing them as much as possible, to the fullest.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas.
Thank you.
Councilor Clark and then Councilor Abbott. You can go.
Well, she's a member of the this is very intriguing.
We can't hear you.
It's like a good solution. I don't know. It's not working. Hello. Anyway, I was just wondering, like, you said, you did mention that you all have been, engaged to inform this approach and this project. Do you feel like you're going to have a lot of interest?
Yes, we already have a lot of interest. I've already had several emails, not only from providers, but from actual folks who are experiencing homelessness and working within or working with some of our public service providers that are really excited about the opportunity. This was not in a silo. This information really came from our residents experiencing homelessness who said that they wanted opportunities for non-congregate spaces to be able to have spaces that locked, have places where they could leave their stuff overnight, to have places where they could have something that felt like a home that helped to transition to their next step. And so that is why we are responding in this way. Not only for our residents, but also for our providers.
So I guess I got a few questions. So as a community, have we had a net, I feel like we've probably had a net decrease in homeless shelter beds. I know Jimmy Hale went to a different kind of service when they opened the Thomas School. Salvation Army has a new facility, but I don't know that it shelters people in the same way and to the same, volume. I mean, I don't know if they have the capacity they had when they were at the BJCC site. And then I know Firehouse probably has more capacity, but I'm just wondering, has there been a net decrease in our homeless services and our shelter beds over, through these modernizations and relocations of the main homeless services providers?
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Don Lupo. I serve as the operations manager for the city and have been a homeless advocate for quite some time. Councilor, I'm not going to say there's been a net decrease. There's certainly not been a net increase.
Okay.
Firehouse Shelter does probably serve more than anyone. Salvation Army certainly, with their campus, has really done a great job. They take care of men, women, and families. They do a great job. First Light is primarily for women and children. Pathways is really getting into the program a little more. And as you pointed out, Jimmy Hale is doing more addiction and recovery, but their new executive director has promised that she wants to get them back to their ground roots.
Okay.
So, Councilor Abbott, we're kind of old, and in my lifetime, I don't
have a beard.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it's not white anyway. In my lifetime, I have never seen something move so quickly as this has, and I never thought in my lifetime that I would be standing here and we'd be talking about this. But a few years ago, when this gentleman was elected mayor, for the first time, a mayor came to the warming stations on a regular basis. That mayor not only came, but he sat on cots and talked to people every day and every night. And he understands what's taking place. This guy over here and this young lady, I told her the other day, I came to her office once to meet her because I'd met her mom downtown, and her mother was telling me about her. And I go to her office, and she's not there, but there's a saber on the table, a sword. That told me all I needed to know about her. We're going to move, we're going to charge. And just I just never thought we'd be standing here today talking about this. This is a thing of beauty and something going in the right direction. And Mayor, I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Well, Don, I had a couple more questions. I don't know that they're for you, but stay around in case. So it did say that there's assembly that's included. So will they be assembled and then delivered, or will the kits come? Or will we just place the order and wait to direct the delivery to whoever,
That's right. Yes, we'll place the order, and then we'll receive the pallets, which will be assembled on site.
I know, but so we're going to potentially approve this tomorrow. And I guess there's some manufacturing time. Maybe. I don't know. So you're going to place the order and let them manufacture them while the RFP is out? I mean, I guess I'm just wondering, are we going to accept delivery and have to store them somewhere until...
No. So, Counselor, the actual item is similar to any bid. It's an as-need bid. So basically, once we have everything finalized, we will get with the company that was awarded the bid, tell them the amount of shelters that we're requesting, and then we'll finalize location, and they will be the manufacturer that will assemble and put everything together. They just won't be sitting there waiting and everything is coming together in one kind of unit once we have everything finalized. This allows us to move forward with this company. So when we're ready, we say, hey, we want to get this amount of pallets at this cost.
Okay. And then I guess my other question, which might be my last, is about, the partner implementation. I know it depends on what they say in the proposal, but you'll probably, have some specifications. Do you envision having to assist these agencies with, because they're going to need fencing, security, maybe cameras, staff, water, plumbing, electricity. They don't just, you don't just put them in the parking lot, and you got to run power to them and plumbing to the bathroom units and so forth. So I'm wondering, do we envision another cost associated with the implementation?
Yes, there will be another operational cost that we will bring forward when we have chosen who the actual operational providers are going to be. So we'll bring that forward once we've done the RFP process and selected who are going to actually take on the micro shelter pilot program.
I guess that's the part I didn't understand. Why wouldn't we just set up the money, which gives you enough, we authorize the budget, and then you bring the whole deal. I guess that's the part that's kind of baffling me about it. Although...
You mean bring the purchase and the operational component together?
Yeah.
The question... That would have been ideal, but I think the timeline for purchasing along with the RFP process just didn't align, and so we really had to take the bid forward to purchase, and we needed to get that approved before we even launched the RFP. So we wanted to make sure that we had the council's approval before we moved forward with the selection of any operational providers.
Just to clarify, because the bid is important to understand that it's only good for a certain amount of days. So once the council approves this bid, we're locked in. So if we belabor this more than 30 days of how a bid sits out, we have to rebid it and the cost could go up. So we would like to go ahead and just lock down the bid, then the community development can go ahead and do the RFP, and we can include all those measures. And of course, that will come back before the council. But like you said, that's why we have so many people at the table, including PEP, where once we get all the permitting and all the electrical and all the stuff that gets it operational, that will come before the council. And we would definitely update you once we get to that point.
I think your questions are warranted. All of your questions are warranted, but the line where you're going, extremely clear.
But I get what he's saying. I do get, I mean, I'm not really sure, but I do get it, because the bids will expire. You'd have to rebid it. Is that why we're taking it piecemeal?
Yeah, but there's a process, right? I guess I would sub out the piecemeal and just say process.
Okay.
And this is the first step in the process.
Well, any conceptual idea how much the whole program will cost, or how much you're going to support financially the implementation of the program? Have you all set in your plan kind of what you have to put toward this?
We have thoughts about what our cap would be, but I think we want to be open to the need that's presented through the proposal process.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's definitely something new and innovative, so thank you for that.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions? Oh, Council Abby, you have one more.
Oh, well, yeah, the process. I want to see the whole process. I don't want to see this little piece of the process and not know what the rest of the process is, because we're being asked for $1 million now. Is it going to be $5 million later, or $10 million later, or $3 million later? So if you have a process, show the council the entire process, not the front end of the process. So
it is, unfortunately,
what page is it on?
It's not a page. Second before last, but we did our communication first around January 6th. Just around around sharing the public what we're doing. We come before you today. And then just the purchasing of the pallet shelter, which is tomorrow, just an isolation of a bid process that's before you tomorrow. And then as you see this timeline, we go through an actual process of the request for proposal, which is a considerable amount of January, February. And then we go back to the community as it relates to engagement, site refinement, more detail, the months of March and April. We finalized the agreement in April, and then there's site bill in May. Related to cost, the truth is that's still to be determined, because as you go through the request for proposal process and what's submitted, there are costs unknown to us. Even if you go with just straight utilities, related to Alabama Power, Spire, sewer, etc. Those will be costs. We wouldn't just determine in isolation as the municipality, but the actual partner that's submitting the request for proposal. And so again, it's look at it more so a process. We have a suggested timeline. Within this timeline, we will know more about costs and be able to come back before this council. But tomorrow's isolation is the actual purchase of the pallets, which is through the block grant dollars that we get. Then we'll actually be in a position through public-private partnership, as well as who the lead partner is in the request for proposal process, to be able to dig deeper on price, what they'll be requesting for us, what they'll be able to do by themselves, what they'll be able to raise by themselves, what they'll be able to get from the private sector, possibly even what the utilities will just write off as it relates to costs, this being more of a community service project, including even possible providing your service, etc.
Okay, well, I know you wouldn't go down this path without having some idea of what it's going to cost. Don't tell me that we're opening the door and we're just giving a blank check and saying, well, we're going to start and whatever happens, hey, that's the way it works. I don't run my household that way, and I don't feel comfortable approving something about which we know very little. Now, other cities have done this. Surely there's somebody's project that y'all have looked at. You're not going to do this without knowing something.
Yes, ma'am. Calvin Datcher, serve as Deputy Director of Community Development. Yes, ma'am. We've been in touch. Pallet has been great. One of the things that we're getting kind of as a part of the purchase is technical assistance. And they've connected us with multiple cities that they've deployed these particular tools in. And so we have a sense of what it takes But we're going to be more robust and more aggressive in kind of our wraparound services than some cities have been, and we're going to be as holistic as possible. To the end of kind of the source of funding, nothing's going to come from the city's general fund to support this project. We have the Community Development Block Grant. We also have the Emergency Solutions Grant, both from the federal government, as well as $500,000 that was approved by the council in Tranche 1 of American Rescue Plan for Innovative Solutions to Homelessness. So there are dollars that are already set aside inside the city's budget for homelessness services. So these dollars will be a part of kind of dollars that have already been allocated by council, and we're going to bring back the very specific budgets that are going to be determined by the programmatic recommendations that come from the service providers. And so, I mean, we're going to be holistic, and so not just kind of food and the actual shelter, but we're talking about mental health, medical health. We're talking about job readiness, transit cards, cell phones, and mailing post office boxes so that people can apply for jobs and pursue jobs in that kind of a way. Addiction services for those who may need it. And so we feel like it's best to defer to those who do this on a daily basis, those who are inside these communities who are doing this on a daily basis. We will, of course, make a recommendation to you that will have a capped, an up to amount for the final budget, and we'll bring that back to you. But make no mistake, there'll be no other parts of the city's budget that will be disrupted or impacted by the services. These dollars are already in place for homelessness services inside CDBG, ESG, and then the ARP dollars that have been set aside.
Ms. Abbott.
Okay, well,
Can you translate that look of concern on your face? I want to make sure we...
But I was hidden.
I want to make sure we... I actually want to address the concern.
Yeah, well, my concern is just that we don't have any idea what the end cost is, but I understand we have a lot of pots to get the money out of. And
not only that,
and I'm in favor of doing this because heaven knows we've got enough stolen grocery carts on Green Springs Highway to, sink a battleship because they're living in the bushes. And they steal the grocery carts and leave them on the highway. So I know there's a big problem, but I just like to know what I'm approving, and I don't like being piecemealed with a request. That's the piecemeal, you can call it a program, but it's going to be done piecemeal.
All of the proposals will come back before the council for approval, but I would like to defer to the mayor as far as the word usage of the process. Not necessarily piecemeal, but we are creating a process where we are grounding it in a community-based process. So we are hearing and responding to the needs that community is bringing us. And so that really allows us to be more holistic, as Mr. Dasher just mentioned, and really be responsive to their needs as opposed to creating a program where we're missing things. And that's what we've heard in this technical assistance as well, is that people brought before and created really robust programming, and then there was inevitably a gap that they were missing because they weren't the providers themselves. And so this really gives us the opportunity to hear from our folks what they actually need to do this work and to actually be able to create a budget that encompasses that.
Okay. And last question.
There's no world where the city of Birmingham does this in isolation. I think we've gotten knocked upside our heads enough on a sensitive issue such as homelessness to get it right. And part of it is this: we have to have that partner at the table to actually discuss costs first. That would be premature today because we're not going to go out here and just pick someone or someone come to us and say, hey, we know what we're doing. The request for proposal allows for an honest process, as well as a vetting process, as well as accountability, as well as assessing actual costs, hard costs, soft costs, any form of cost, so we know total costs before we're able to present it to you.
Okay, thank you. But I still have one more question. If 75% of the unhoused people are drug users, how do we deal with drug use in our villages?
So that will also be on the provider, and providers will propose what they're going to do, what applicants they'll be selecting, and what folks that they'll be housing within their within their village. But drug use on site is prohibited.
Yeah, because if 75% of the unhoused people are using drugs, then if we exclude the people who are using drugs, our villages will be empty and our bushes on Green Springs Highway will be still full of people hiding out.
Well, that's why part of this programming is wraparound service provision. And so it is not just housing people, but it's also supporting people through wherever they are in their journey towards housing, whether that be mental health services, whether that be addiction services, whether that be physical ailments. And so we're really looking to the providers and their expertise to be able to bring to bear their resources to address the populations that they're going to be housing.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Is there anyone else for any other questions?
I want to kind of piggyback off of, something Dr. Thomas said, and, to Councilor Abbott's, questions. Councilor Abbott, I did get a chance, to sit in on, as I stated when I went to Kansas City, on the pallet presentation, which was, the CEO was there along with. And I like what Dr. Thomas said, how they are centering the voices of those that have been impacted, in these situations and have found themselves going from homelessness to homeowners. And so that's super important to make sure that we centering the voices of individuals that have experienced this, that can be a thought partner at the table to give them guidance. Because that's one thing that the people from the pallet, when I heard the presentation, is they was very intentional on making sure that they were centering the voices of people that impacted homelessness to be a thought partner with them, and all of these wraparound services that they're speaking of wasn't, engaged in those villages. So I just think that they are going to have, getting their service providers and those that are experts, but still listening to people with lived experiences, being the thought partners with them is going to be very robust. And again, as she stated, they being very intentional about doing it, because I think if we don't center the voices of lived experience and those closest to the problems of the solution solvers or furthest from the resources, we're going to miss. So this is going to be a very good, robust program. In my opinion, it would be. And, just hearing the presentation from the CEO of the pallet when we were in NLC, because I was in there with Deputy Mitchell, they really just kind of gave you the segue of this is how it really needs to go. So just hearing that they are in conversation, with the pallet people makes me even more confidence in what they're doing.
And thank you, Councilor Tate. I'm for it, so thank you.
Thank you.
The next Budget and Finance meeting is Monday, January 23rd at 3:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. I move for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.